Hey guys, this is Kat, aka Resistant Borg, and I am so excited to be sharing another video with you guys. I've recently been listening to the Magnus Archives for the first time, and this video is just basically going to be my thoughts and my rankings for season 1. If you aren't familiar with the Magnus Archives, it's a podcast from Rusty Quill that basically follows an archivist at a paranormal research institute in London. And over the course of season 1, we're hearing Jonathan, our main character, reading statements from different people, and at first they seem very unconnected, but over the course of the season you realize there are more connections than we thought. So this video is going to be split into two main parts. The first part, I'm going to be ranking my top 5 episodes starting from 5 and then moving our way up to my favorite, and then the second part is just kind of, final thoughts and things that I think about the Magnus Archives so far before I dive into season 2. Now, just a warning, and you probably were able to guess this, but I will be discussing spoilers for Magnus Archives season 1, so, don't watch if you don't want spoilers. Starting off at number 5, we have episode 2, Do Not Open. This episode was scary without being too horrifying, but really what charmed me with it was that our main character wasn't an idiot, essentially. With most horror media, I'm very used to people opening the thing that says do not open, but he came up with a really creative way to kind of save himself, essentially, and not, be victimized by whatever object was in this coffin. So I really liked this episode. It didn't rank in the top 5 for me, but it was definitely one of the episodes where I was like, I'm gonna really enjoy listening to this podcast. In the number 4 slot, we have episode 32, Hive. This is where we get a little bit more backstory for Jane Prentice, the big bad of season 1, and I think it's also a place where we really see John starting to question his own skepticism, because throughout the season we have seen him questioning these stories and not really believing them and believing the people that left these statements, but he's actually dealing with a supernatural force not only attacking one of his colleagues, but attacking the place that he works and spends a majority of his time. Him reading her statement was so chilling because you could tell that he was really kind of losing himself in this story and in this perspective of this woman losing her mind and being called on by this unknown force within this wasp nest. And I think it just led to a really satisfactory end to season 1, where we get the attack on the archives and we get John kind of realizing that things are not what they seem, and things are not as simple as he wanted to kind of compartmentalize them into being. And yeah, this episode, again, wasn't in, my top episode, but it definitely made me really excited for the end of the season and to see what Jane would kind of do. In the number 3 slot, we have episode 18, which is The Man Upstairs. These meat episodes get me every single time. They're so creepy, but in the best possible way, and I think they really exemplify why Magnus Archives has some of the best writing and just horror writing in general. It's just, the big reveal at the end was so disgusting, and I had chills all over my body listening to that description, but we were still left with a mystery at the end when John is, asking where the meat is coming from. So we get that really creepy reveal, but we're still left with that mystery, which is just perfect. It's the best way to do horror like that, where it's like, even though you've gotten kind of the answer to these questions, you're still left with a question. And because it creeped me out so badly, it definitely is going to be in my top episodes. And I just feel like the meat episodes are, every episode of Magnus Archives has been great so far, but the meat episodes, those are like the top ones for me. I couldn't eat meat for like 2 days after listening to this episode, to be honest. So the number 2 slot's going to be taken up by 2 episodes, episode 19, Confession, and episode 20, Desecrated Host. The reason I'm pairing them together is because they actually go together as statements. These episodes were so good and so well done, just the imagery that they evoked, and also the open-ended questions, Was there an outside force that influenced this priest to commit these acts of evil? How did the delivery men come into play again? Who are they connected to? What's their story? Because now we've seen them in a few statements, and it always ends in death and bloodshed. I just thought the imagery of the audience looking up at him and just looking so inhuman, it was just, and you know how it's going to end, but that final part of this statement where he like wakes up from the trance and realizes what he had done, just so good. And it really just made me binge the rest of season 1 because I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, what's happening now? I just can't wait for more episodes like that where we just get to see. I really just love to see that descent into madness, kind of like with Jane Prentice as well, and kind of see these outside forces really influencing people. And it just makes me so excited for the rest of the seasons and just to finish Magnus Archives, to be honest. All right, number 1 slot has to go to episode 36, Taken Ill. This episode was horrifying in the best and worst ways. I have a huge soft spot for like elderly people or senior citizens, and just listening to the descriptions in this one was just so hard, but in the like, again, it's just horrifying in the best way. I feel like they just know how to hit us exactly where they need to, and that's why this episode has to be number 1, because now we're seeing that it's not just like individual people being affected by these weird events. That's an entire center of people, nurses, you know, and again, we're meeting new characters and we're doing more world building through this, where we're meeting people who seem to know a little bit more backstory that John clearly doesn't know, but John wants to know. Yeah, this episode had to be my top 1 because I was like crying at the end of it, just thinking about the realities of these people and their families, and just, you know, what the potential for the rest of these stories could be. And just the descriptions of like things slowly decaying or just becoming nasty. Ugh. But I also really liked it, so yeah, that's number 1 for me. If you can't tell, I'm enjoying the Magnus Archives so much. I cannot wait to see how season 2 plays out, and although I'll miss Sasha, I'm very excited to see specifically how that storyline plays out. Yeah, I've already started season 2 actually, because I just could not wait to get this video done to kind of start listening again, and I'm already really enjoying it. I feel like they've really upped the horror this time, and it's just, I'm so happy I gave this podcast a chance and gave in to my intrusive thoughts and started listening to it. So yeah, what are your favorite episodes from season 1? Let me know down below. Y'all can find me on all socials at Resistant Borg, where I post a variety of content, whether it's cosplay, fanfic, etc. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.